Hi and welcome, not back, but to my channel, because this is the first video of the new channel, The Natural High. And I already have a channel that I have been having for 1 year. And it's just named Sabina, my first name, and it's a reaction channel where I listen to music from all over the world and I analyze it and comment on it. So that's a different chapter in my YouTube journey. But this is basically my main job, to do what I will be sharing on this channel, because I help people eliminate unwanted emotions, thought and behaviors for good. And that sounds a bit fluffy, because a lot of, I guess, people, they tell you that that's what they're doing, like psychologists and different kind of therapy. But I felt myself that this technique that I have learned, the Lefkoe method, is very unique. And that's because it's really specifically finding the thing that's causing you, or the things, there can be multiple, that's causing a specific experience, and then they delete the root cause and then it's gone, poof, and it's not coming back. And to give you some context, because that sounds like a lot of clients, when I have a first like a strategy session with them and I tell them about the method, they say, oh, that sounds too good to be true. And I'm like, yes, I know exactly why you think that way. Because this is a totally different take on our behaviors and thoughts and emotions, for most people at least. So the way that it can be so simple and that our issues can actually be solved completely is kind of a new perspective on its own. Because when we talk about beliefs, a lot of us have maybe tried to, change something for a long time and we never really succeeded with it, and it only works if we're really trying hard. So if that's the experiences we have had, we of course have a belief or beliefs about that as well. And then it seems weird that you can just get rid of things. But it's not magic, even though it can feel that way sometimes. So let me give you a specific example on one of the biggest issues I've personally had, which was the thing that actually made me go into all this. It all started, well, 25 maybe years ago. So when I was a kid, one of the things I appreciated the most of all things I could do, of course I loved candy, I loved to play, I loved a hug from my mom and all that, but the thing that could really get me excited was to speak in front of a lot of people. I loved being on stage. I loved being center of attention. I loved sharing. And that was just one of the things I was most excited about, to the point where I, on my own in school, made these, instructed these theaters where we could perform, and I was also a part of it, and then we were just performing inside of the class or, on a stage. I just loved it. I loved to, do something in front of people, watch them react, and, there was this whole play. I was 16 years old. And there was this assignment in school and we had to, go up and say a couple of words about it. And usually I would just do it without thinking much about it. But this time, I remember already before, like it was on the Monday, and already Thursday, the week before, I knew that I had to do it with my group. I could sense that I started feeling uncomfortable. And then the closer we went, the worse it became. And I didn't really understand why at the beginning, but when it eventually happened, I was feeling tension and my heart was beating and I felt like my mouth was like out of control. It was kind of wobbly, and I just had this very unpleasant physical experience when I had to say a couple of words in front of my class, which I have done a lot of times, and I could not figure out what was going on. And then as time proceeded, this got worse. So it was at a point where I was like, okay, should I just stay at home or should I pretend like I'm sick, to just avoid getting to school when I had to say something in front of a bunch of people. And it was weird because it was not only something I didn't hate before, but it was actually something I loved before, something that got me excited, but suddenly I didn't like it. And then if we go forward some years, I think was at university and we had to present ourselves. And, we were a bunch of people and everybody was saying something. And when the moment the teacher told us, okay, we just have to say a couple of words about yourself, your name, and you know what you're studying and stuff like that. And the moment he said that, I start just literally feeling sick. And the closer it got to me, the worse it felt. And the moment where it was my turn, I felt like I almost, you know, everything kind of disappeared, and I just heard myself saying something very short, very sharp, very like I was very closed off. And then I was just relieved to see that he didn't ask me any questions, and he just proceeded to the next student. And I was just exhausted after that, and I was still wondering what the heck was going on. And then when I started working at an office, we had plenty of meetings, we had plenty of presentations, and it just got worse and worse, to the point where I just couldn't do it. I was literally so afraid to say something in front of people, not even on the stage in front of like 20 people or something. It could just be about like a round table with 10 people. I just couldn't do it. I remember I had to just get up and leave straight out, because I was feeling that I had a panic attack, and it got so bad that I was like, now I need to change this. So I tried a lot of different things, and I heard that this is one of the most common fears in the world, fear of public speaking, and it's very normal, and there's a lot of people who feel like you, but that didn't really help me. And then I was told that you just have to practice speaking in front of people, and then you will feel comfortable. And that didn't help either, because then if it was with a new group of people or in another context, I would feel anxious again. So maybe I got used to a couple of people to speak in front of them, but it always like came back and was very, very limiting. And then I started thinking about how I could get a job where I could avoid speaking in front of people, or I wanted to do some different courses to learn some skills, but I was like, no, I can't do it, because then I have to present myself at the beginning, and then I can't do it. And I definitely limited myself so much in many years, for many, many years. And at one point I almost gave up. I was like, okay, that's just how it feels, that's just how it is. And I remember telling some adult that I knew, some colleague, I had this issue, and I didn't have it at all when I was young. But now I'm like, and she was like, oh, but that's common, that's how it is to grow up, to become an adult. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, what? You get fear of public speaking when you become an adult? And she was like, yeah, you know, all the problems you have now, people always say like, oh, I didn't have them when I was a kid. But that's how it is, you know, then you become older, and then life happens. And I was like, life happens? That was strange. And then it was actually some other issues that got me into it. But then I found something about beliefs. And it was beliefs that is like a statement about yourself, reality, or some subject that you have learned once in your life. You actually think you have seen an example or proof of it outside in the world plenty of times. And then you're like, okay, this is the truth. And bam, it's planted in your subconscious mind, and then it just automatically generates your thoughts, which make you feel something that makes you behave a certain way. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I found this method, Lefkoe method, that I use myself in my practice. So it's basically, you find beliefs and conditionings and other types of mental programming that's causing one problem, and you delete it until the problem is all gone. And they actually specialized also in fear of public speaking. And they had this list of the most typical beliefs that people have when they have this fear. And some of them is like, I'm not good enough, I'm not important, people are not interested in what I have to say. If I fail, something bad will happen, I'm a failure. And then some conditioning like fear associated with people looking at you or being in the center of attention. And I was like, oh, okay. A lot of things just resonated with me. Not at the beginning, but when I looked at it, I was like, there is something, especially the one like people are not interested in what I have to say, and the thing about fear associated with people looking at you. And then I went through the different beliefs, and I got them removed, and then I found some more causing the problem, and I could see that from every single belief I removed, that the situation was still there, but it became less and less intense. So at the beginning it was like, okay, now I don't have to run away. I just feel like I'm gonna die. And the next step was like, okay, now I don't feel like I'm gonna die, I'm just very anxious. And then it was like, okay, I'm anxious and uncomfortable, but I can manage this. And then it was like, okay, I can manage it, definitely, but I don't enjoy it. And then it was like, okay, I'm a bit nervous, I'm a bit confused, but it's okay. And then it was like, this is pretty good. I still feel a bit distracted by my feelings, but it's fine. And then it was like, okay, it's pretty fine. There is still some unease or worry, but I can deal with it. And then it was like, this is almost pretty normal. I can feel I'm a little bit more like alert than I want to be, but besides that, it's very good. To the point where it's like, this is actually really enjoyable. And it was interesting to actually be able to witness from each session, from every time I had some belief removed, that it changed. It got softer and softer and softer and softer, to the point where I was like, this is not dangerous. And also I found out that there was nuances to it, so there was a difference in if I had to speak about myself. That was worse for me than if I had to speak about some subject. That's why I hated presenting myself. That had something to do with other beliefs I had about myself, or that I'm not important, or people don't want, I don't matter, and stuff like that. And then I also realized, okay, there is also a difference from if I'm speaking to kids or adults, or if I speak to people I perceive as being better than me. But the thing about it is, I feel like, first of all, it's just amazing that it's actually possible to remove it, because what I had was very, very, very severe fear when I had to speak. Fear of public speaking was just crazy, and I think actually a lot of people have similar experiences. But it was very limiting, and it wasn't before I was able to get rid of it I realized how limiting it was, because now I could actually get excited with meeting people and being in spaces and not being afraid that people would ask me something in front of everybody and then I had to say something. I was just doing things that I wasn't doing before, and when I was doing something, I was just behaving differently, which completely changed my social lives and my work life, also, and my relationships in general. Because when you work on this pattern, for example, of fear of public speaking, you also remove a lot of things about your self-confidence, and self-esteem and trust in other people, which will affect all your relationships. For example, your close relationships, also in terms of expressing yourself, letting people in, and all that. So even though you just focus on one pattern, it just, affects so many things. So yeah, I think it's completely amazing. And this was just a new way for me to look at my view of the world and how I behave. I did know about beliefs before I used this method, and I did know that they were kind of controlling my experience and my behavior. But the whole thing about beliefs being these rules being put into your mind like a computer program that's just running automatically all the time, and then it just generates thoughts, because that's how beliefs work. They remind you, they control your behavior by generating the thoughts. Because if you have a thought when you stand in front of people like, this is gonna be amazing, look at how excited people are, I can't wait to share this idea, you will feel pretty excited and you probably really perform the beep out of your pants. But if you're having some negative beliefs or just beliefs, for example, if I fail, then I'll be rejected, then your mind will be like, oh, you can't do this because they will all just laugh at you and they won't take you seriously anymore, and nobody wants to talk to you after that, or you're ruining everything for yourself by doing this in front of people. Now they're really going to see who you are. All those thoughts can be generated from a belief like that. And when you have those thoughts, of course you're going to feel like just getting the heck out of there as fast as possible, because you don't want to deal with that. So yeah, it's actually really simple when you look at it that way, and it's just extremely pleasant that when you remove these beliefs, you don't have to do extra work after that. I had a client who he was taking medication when he had to perform, and he was actually doing some teaching stuff and presenting every time. That was basically his job. So after being like 10 years of some medication, anti-anxiety medication, it didn't work. He became immune to the drugs, and he couldn't stand it. And then he had tried different things, and he found me. And then we had like 5 sessions, and I asked him how is it going. He was, it's great. I actually, for the first time for 25 years, I actually enjoy my work. And now when people ask questions, before I was like, you know, I got kind of angry and frustrated and could be able to snap back, or got insecure and couldn't focus on what they actually asked. But now I really enjoy it, and I feel like it's such a sign of engagement and great community when people ask questions and we can have a dialogue. So I have never been so happy for my job. And he also added that it also has affected his wife. Was like, you changed, but she really liked it because suddenly he was behaving differently around her also. And that was really amazing to see that it's not only me, it's also other people with different stories. And even though I thought my situation was very bad, I actually had clients, and this specific client, who was in an even worse situation than me, because I wasn't at the point where I was doing medication yet. But maybe I went there, and I understand why people do it. But not only did he get off it, he also got to enjoy his job and improve his relationships, which is beautiful in my opinion. So I'm very stoked about this, and I hope that for anyone else sitting out there with a fear of public speaking, there is hope for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are and how bad it is, and how many years you have had this and what you've tried. There is definitely a way to get rid of it permanently. I didn't think it was possible until I tried this, so this is just to say that to anyone. And I will of course put the link in the description to my site on Facebook, The Natural High, and also my website. And I hope that you enjoyed this, and please let me know if you have a specific issue, a specific topic you want to hear about, and I can go into that. This was fun. I hope I will see you in the next video, and you can subscribe and like if you feel like it and you haven't already. And thank you so much for watching. I love you. Bye.